Good afternoon everyone, welcome to today's webinar. For those of you who don't recognise my voice, it's Mike doing the webinar today, and we'll be covering the contract grid manager and how you can use this to keep your contracts up to date with more efficiency. We have Ollie on the live chat, so if you've got any questions throughout the session, just ask away. He'll be there for anything that you need, and we will be hanging around at the end of the session, just in case you want to wait and ask any questions once we've been through everything. So without further ado, we'll get started. So the contract grid manager is something that's only come into the system in sort of recent updates, and it's a really useful feature that we've seen more and more customers wanting to be trained on, asking how it works, because essentially managing your contracts en masse, it becomes sort of a lot easier. And with this, rather than you having to go into sort of each individual, you can go through the whole sort of contracts on products, customers, everything like that with ease. To find the grid manager, we go to contract left hand side and then the contract option with the little settings cog next to it, and that's the grid manager. So there's quite a lot that we can do within the grid manager, especially just within the search tab here, and it allows you to search on specific things. So for example, if you want to see what type of contract, so if you've got just standard contracts or something that's possibly in review, so if I just close out of this and show you something that may be in review, if we expand the search, we've got the option to search on sort of a contract here that's in review. Now this is something that someone has opened the revision, they're making some changes to it. So if I just go into this one, for example, this is a contract that may potentially be in review, and we see whether it's in review or not, because this says open revision rather than start. So this is a contract someone's made amendments to. Now the revisions are something that aren't necessarily very sort of important, but for the customers that do use the revisions, it's a good option to keep track of sort of date that you've last made amendments to your contracts, and then it keeps information such as your quantity and frequency sort of in check for reporting purposes. So you can search on specific contracts whether they've just been amended or it's something that you're going through and amending, and all things like that, the grid manager. So that's just going from the contract type, whether it's just a standard contract or something that's in the middle of being reviewed. So if you're only looking to amend things that are in the process of being reviewed, then you can go through that way. We've also got the ability to search on customers. So for example, if you know a specific customer has been a loyal customer for a number of years and you're looking to give them a bit better pricing, you might do it on margin markup, for example, with that customer, and you want to lower your margin just a little bit just to give them some better pricing. You can search for a customer in here. So if we just search for Ollie Rolls FC, so we've got Ollie Rolls FC, we can search on that customer and it'll bring back all the lines in that contract, and then from there, through the change tab, which I'll just show you in a little while, you can make amendments on increasing prices, changing the pricing type, removing items out there, and basically just doing all your updates at ease. So we can also search on product codes, product descriptions. So I know one of our customers, they use this quite a lot because they do a lot of their own sort of contract paper. So you can put in an example product code in here and see exactly what items or what contract, shall I say, this item's on. Search for the item and it'll bring back all your contracts, and if we go to the results tab, from here we can amend it. So we can remove items out of here that we may not want to amend. So for example, if you know you've got an agreement with a certain customer, for example this Arkins at Kenny & Co, you might not want to update their contract specifically because they've had that agreed price for quite a while. They're a loyal customer, you don't want to sort of be changing their pricing too much. You can easily just remove it out of here by highlighting it and hitting that remove, and that'll just remove it from the update. So there's a lot that we can search on here, especially like product code. It makes it easier if you're looking to update pricing for that product specifically, so we can use that to update sort of the margin en masse potentially at one point, but it's always useful to be able to search across the board. The main sort of benefit I think of having this grid manager is the next search that we can do. So on the right hand side we do have a product status option, and in here we can search on discontinued products. So as you're going through your monthly catalogue updates and your frequent updates, you'll be constantly discontinuing codes and getting rid of codes. Now, they don't necessarily get removed from the contract straight away. This enables you to actually be able to go in here, search the discontinued products, and then from the change tab, we can remove them from the contract. So easily en masse, you can be updating, removing these products that you don't want to, or you can be swapping them out to a different product. So if you know there's an equivalent, say, spices item for a Val product that's been discontinued, you can just easily change it out, swap it out, maintain your margin, and your customer still gets the product that they want on contract at that contract price. Except you're actually able to supply it this time. You can't, you haven't got the risk of not being able to supply a product that they don't want, or they want, shall I say. Another option we've got in here is the product classification. So another use case of this, which I know a couple of customers have been doing, is since the turn of the new year, there's been a lot of price increases to things like paper. So you can come in here, search on the product classification paper, that'll return all the results for paper, and then easily from that results tab they can filter out the customers that they don't want to increase, or certain products for example, and then they can go through that and increase it by a certain margin just to put it in line with their costs. If it's a fixed price that they have then products on and they want to move it to a margin, easily change the pricing type, and all that can be done in here, which will be showing you the options you can do with the change in a little second. And then the final option is just the price type. So if you know a specific product is markup margin, you want to move it to be a fixed price because the costs aren't fluctuating as much as they used to, or vice versa. From this you can search exactly what pricing type with these products you want and easily change it within here. So before we've got that, what we can do as well within this results tab, before we move on to how you can change and manipulate your contracts using the grid manager, a key sort of use of this is being able to manage your results properly, because in a lot of the cases that you're going to be using this grid manager, you're not going to be updating all the results. I'm sure there's going to be customers, there's going to be products, there's going to be certain items that you don't actually want to remove out of here. This results works the same way as all the other grid manager results tab, same way as a lookup as well. So you can highlight certain ones, you can right click, you can invert your selection, you can remove the selected or remove the unselected. Works in the same way, but knowing how to efficiently manage manipulate this results tab to find what you want will make this sort of a lot easier, because you can be updating specifically the products that you want then, rather than accidentally updating things in bulk. So it's always important to be checking this results tab and making sure that you're not updating things that you're not meant to be in, because that can cause some issues, I'm sure, with your customers and pricing and things like that. So once you've done your search specifically, you'll be wanting to make a change. Now within the change, if I just go to this tab, there's a number of options that we've got within here. So it allows you to do actually quite a lot with the contracts and update them quite regularly and easily. So the first option we've got at the very top is replace the product. So for example, and I know we used a use case of a Val product's been discontinued and you want to swap it to a Val product. You can just hit this tick box, type in your product code into here, and then select the pack size. So if it can match the original unit, it will. If not, it'll just replace it for what's in there. Now the key thing to remember about this is that it won't keep that price. What will happen is it will maintain the margin that you've got on that product, even if it's not set to be margin or markup. It will maintain the margin that you've got based on the cost price. So if you're making a 10% margin, you'll keep that margin. It'll just do it based on the cost price of the new product. So that way it makes sure that you're not going to be making a loss on these products if you've got a positive margin already. If you've got a negative margin, then it will keep that margin, but whatever the margin is, that's what you'll be keeping. The next option that we've got is change price type. So this is very, very useful if you're looking to switch things from fixed selling price to markup margin en masse. So for example, you may have first set up all your toners with the fixed selling price for example, and you might be losing some money because the cost has gone up quite a lot since you first put these contracts in place. And to maintain your margin and make sure that you're not losing any money, you might want to change all your toners to be margin. So with that, in the first place, you can search on, say, inks and toners within the classifications, search on the pricing type standard, and then come in here and change price type, and it'll flip all them products to be markup margin and keep the price, and then what you can do from there is set a selling price with a markup margin down at the very bottom. So there's quite a lot that you can do with this. Just doing a few searches, you can update and maintain these very, very easily. The next option, which is relatively useful, especially if you're looking to remove large books of products from contracts rather than going into each individual contract. You can do this on mass, so especially if you discontinue code, you can search them items and just come in here and click this remove contract option, and it'll take it out of the contract completely without you having to go in and do much else, which is very, very useful. So the top three are more manipulation of the contracts themselves, where the bottom four options we've got here are more about you manipulating the price that you've got and how you can change that price, increase it, and go from there. So the first option we've got is adjusting the selling price by a fixed amount. So if you want to increase it by sort of 50p, £10 on a certain product, wherever it might be that you want to increase, you can do it from here and that's by a fixed amount. So if you've got sort of paper that you want to change it to, well, do an increase of sort of £5 because your cost has gone up £5, select that option, just select 5, and then that'll update all the products that you search for. The next option we've got is adjusting the selling price by a fixed percentage. So if you want to increase your cost of increased by say 10%, and you want to unfortunately have to pass that on to your customer, but that's just the way that it works sometimes, you can just adjust it by a fixed percentage in here, and any products that you do in that search will be adjusted. The next two options are more, rather than sort of adjusting it, you're setting it to be a fixed price. So for example, with this set selling price, you may do some contract copy of paper that you know across the board you want to set that to be £2.50 a box, just as an example. You can go in, for all the items, you can search on that item code, come into the change tab and just change this option and set it to be £2.50, and across the board that will set that selling price to be whatever you put into that box to the right hand side. So if it's £2.50 you want to set that paper to be, or £5, however much it is, that'll set the price to be that as standard. So you won't be increasing it by a certain amount, that'll be the set price you've got. And then the very final option is the sort of one you might want to be using if you've just done a change of markup and you want to say have a 30% markup margin on certain items. Then it's just a case of within here you can set it to be a certain margin. So if you want to set it to be 30%, put your percentage into the right hand side, then it will increase based on whatever you set in there. So it's a very quick tool that you can use, but it is really, really effective, especially for maintaining your contracts on mass. But one thing I will say is always make sure that you know what you're updating for the results tab is. It can be quite sort of damaging, the amount that you can do in here. So use it, it'll be a benefit, but just use it and be sure what you're changing is exactly what you want to change, because otherwise you can be changing quite a lot and do some damage to that. But on the whole, it's a very efficient tool that you can be using to update your contracts. So that's everything for today's webinar. If you do have any questions, myself and Ollie will be hanging around for a little while. If you do want any one-to-one training on the contract, revisions, or anything in Prima, just contact the customer service department and they'll put you through to the training team, and we'll be more than happy to discuss some training packages and get some training booked in for you. Thanks for your time today, and hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.